Japan closely followed naval developments on the other side of the Pacific. A signatory of the Washington Treaty, Tokyo's naval strength was limited to 3/5 of the United States Navy. Yet Japanese strategists insisted that at least 70% of U.S. naval strength was essential for national security. Japanese naval planners immediately began to take advantage of loopholes, which allowed carrier development. 12 years after the treaty was signed, the Imperial Navy took delivery of the Kaga. Japan planned to build 8 battleships and 8 cruisers. The treaty put an end to this, yet the agreement said nothing about converting battleship and cruiser hulls into carriers. Kaga was originally designed as a 40,000-ton battleship. She was converted into a carrier, along with the Akagi. Once launched, both ships later underwent an upgrade. The flight deck was extended over the entire hull. Additional hangar space allowed up to 90 planes to be carried. A third deck lift was added to speed up carrier operations, while new boilers and turbines were fitted. The process of converting ships into carriers continued with the Zuiho. Originally built as a submarine escort, she was later converted and renamed. As submarine escorts, these vessels were already equipped with seaplane hangars. These were extended to accommodate more aircraft. They were also devoid of the characteristic island superstructure on the side of the deck. The Shinamo was designed as a huge floating airfield for resupply. Not until the arrival of the first nuclear-powered carrier, the USS Enterprise, would a bigger carrier take to the seas. Shinamo would have been the third ship in the Yamato class of massive battleships. Instead, she was reconfigured as an aircraft carrier. She kept the protection of a battleship, and the flight deck had 3 inches of armor. Able to carry 50 aircraft of her own, she could also convey and transport fuel and supplies for other carriers. Japan's last major carrier was the Taiho. She was launched in 1944 when the Pacific War had already turned against Japan. Like the Shinamo, she also had an armored flight deck. This was able to withstand a 1,000-pound bomb hit. Taking a cue from the British Royal Navy, the Taiho also had a 2-story armored aircraft hangar. This could accommodate 75 planes, although the ship rarely sailed with more than 60. Like the Americans, the Japanese had a potent array of planes for their carriers. The A6M-0 was an outstanding fighter. It had already amassed thousands of hours of combat in the skies over China. Zeros were joined by the B-5N Kate torpedo bomber. Finally, the D-3A Val dive bomber gave the carriers additional punch against Allied shipping. Japanese carriers were organized into several fleets. The most powerful carriers, namely the Akagi, Kaga, Hiryu, and Suryu, were divided between the first fleet, consisting mainly of battleships, and the second, consisting chiefly of heavy cruisers. The Akagi and Kaga formed the first carrier division. Hiryu and Suryu made up the second. Sosho and Zuiho comprised the third, Ruijo the fourth, and Shokaku and Zuikaku the fifth.